Now by Dr Colum Kenny from Dublin City University, who's advocating a no vote in this referendum. Michael Nugent is also here from Atheist Ireland, who's advocating a yes vote. You're both very welcome. So first of all, tell me, Dr Kenny, why would you be voting no in this referendum?
I'm voting no because the government is toying with the Constitution. This proposal will make no difference to the average citizen and certainly not help the kind of people we've been hearing already on the programme. We could be having a serious constitutional referendum about issues that matter, like votes for young people who live abroad, which would be perfect and go perfectly with the presidential election, or about, for instance, some kind of formal limitation on the property rights in the Constitution that will prevent speculators playing with land at the expense of people who need housing. Not alone will this particular blasphemy provision make no difference, because nobody's ever been prosecuted in Ireland under it. It could do harm. I mean, we live at a time in which civil discourse is breaking down, from Trump's America through Brexit Britain to the Middle East, and again in Northern Ireland now. Things are becoming rancorous, civil discourse is becoming more unpleasant, and the government is producing this proposal, which is opposed in some quarters and is seen in some ways as reducing protections against expressions of religious hatred. And it isn't in line with what the Convention on the Constitution recommended.
So are you saying this would give licence to people to go further than they might with their utterances?
It's sending the wrong signal and is contrary to the wishes of organisations that feel that religious hatred should be managed in a certain way. And it's a needless measure. What happened to the idea you'd let sleeping dogs lie? This doesn't bring any advantage to Irish people, and the Constitution is too important to toy with.
All right, well, let's come over here to Michael. Why will you be voting yes, and why is it so important to you for a yes vote?
There are three reasons. First of all, it's obsolete. It reflects the Ireland of 1937, when the Constitution was first passed.
Except the legislation was enacted in very recent times,
and I'll come to that, but everybody since then, and by body I mean organisation or group that's been set up to look at the Irish Constitution, from the Law Reform Commission in 1991 to the Constitutional Review Group with T.K. Whitaker in the 90s, the all-party committees, they've all recommended removing this. The Catholic Church thinks it's obsolete. The Protestant churches think that it's obsolete. We work with the Ahmadi Muslims who are opposed to blasphemy laws at the United Nations. We've gone over there with that. So that's the first reason, is that it's obsolete. The second is it is harmful. Now, although it has not been formally enforced, we know from experience that it has caused media outlets to self-censor themselves, because they simply don't want to get involved in even the possibility of a blasphemy case. And the third reason is it breaches our international obligations. We've signed up to human rights treaties with which this blasphemy law is incompatible. We've been told by the United Nations that we have to remove it. And when we, along with other Western states at the United Nations, try to get the Islamic states, including Pakistan, who execute people for blasphemy, to stop doing that, they like to point to the Irish law as an example of, here's a Western state that has passed a new blasphemy law in the 21st century, so why are you hypocritically asking us to stop persecuting people with ours?
What do you say to that? That Pakistan, who will execute people for blasphemy, point to Ireland and say, well, look, they do it and it works well there?
I say this is a manifestation of the problem of the government outsourcing this campaign to a crusading organisation like Atheist Ireland. Pakistan is an outlier. There's a real danger here. It's exactly what I'm talking about, of creating stereotypical prejudice to win this campaign. The Organisation for Islamic Cooperation is the representative body of Muslim opinion. It represents over 50 countries which have a Muslim majority, and with 1.8 billion people. And the United States backs that organisation. Atheist Ireland wants to undermine its campaigns. That organisation is committed to religious tolerance, and there's a policy document which is supported. The Convention on the Constitution in Ireland did not simply propose. It's being said all the time that they proposed this measure.
So what did they say?
They said that it should be replaced with a measure that would provide for protection against incitement to religious hatred, and the government has failed to do that. And the UN Commission supported what the Convention on the Constitution said. It did not propose this amendment. This amendment is not what was proposed, and I don't understand why the government is taking a kind of rancorous approach. Instead of doing what the Convention on the Constitution voted on by 53 to 39%, they've gone down this path of adopting the policy of Atheism Ireland.
Can I put one of Colum's points to you, in that it keeps people in check? We're in a world now where it seems anybody can say anything about anybody else. And his point is that this blasphemy law and its inclusion in the Constitution makes people a little more measured about what they say, and that's no bad thing, according to him. What do you say to that?
Well, I say it's the opposite. Every organisation has looked at this, including the Venice Commission, which is the international legal body that advises Council of Europe members on constitutional issues. It has examined that whole issue of the balance between freedom of expression and freedom of belief. And it has concluded that incitement to religious hatred should be a crime, but that blasphemy should not be a crime. And the distinction is that incitement to religious hatred laws protect people from harm, whereas blasphemy laws protect ideas from criticism. And the big danger, if you look at the Stephen Fry case, which almost creates a problem, the reason that the police didn't pursue that is they said that they didn't find sufficient outrage. Now that means, because that's the first test in our laws, that it creates outrage, public outrage. That means that if there were, say, another Danish cartoon controversy in Ireland, and somebody went to the police and said, I want a blasphemy case taken about this, all the police can say to them is, well, go away and show me some public outrage. And we shouldn't be incentivising demonstrations of outrage in our laws. We should be incentivising people to behave more proportionally.
People haven't been incentivised up to now, so why does it matter, might be the question, you know?
Well, part of the reason is that the media self-censors itself. I've had experience of that myself, going on to programmes, thankfully not this one, but before going on to live programmes, being told, make sure you don't say anything that breaks the blasphemy law. We are aware, and the NUJ has made the same point, that articles have been edited or not published in newspapers because of concerns about that. And in fairness to the media isn't set up to challenge the law, it's set up to run its media outlets. But it does have that self-censoring effect on the media.
Thank you both very much indeed. It's useful to have a conversation about it, and people will be asked to vote on the 26th of October. Thank you, Colum, and thank you, Michael. Well,